Hi, I'm Peter Warden, and today is July 8th, 2026. I have had fun making things with rocks, and it's fun to show them. These are my front yard rock creations. Now, one thing I've learned is when I stack rocks, it helps to have shims. By that I mean thin rocks that slip in and help balance the rocks so they don't fall. Now, over here I have 3 stacked rock creations. I was going for ships. And here are some shims that help balance it. Here's some shims down here. Here's a shim here. Oh yeah, I made some ships. Now these 2 ships are facing off. They're about to battle. This ship's crew is kind of a rowdy, unorganized group, but they're tough fighters, not someone you want to meet in a battle. And they have a big, strong ship. Now this ship over here, it's a little smaller, but they have their firepower, and they're very organized and calculating, good with strategy. So it's going to be a tough battle. What happens here is the people that die during the battle, they go to this white ship. I was able to find a lot of white rocks, and this is a ghost ship where the dead in battle go. Over here I have what I call rock trees. Now these never fall. And the reason is I would find rocks with holes in them, and then I pounded a metal stake in the ground and they fit over the hole and they don't fall. This one doesn't have a hole, but it's just right on top. Some really pretty fossilization in some of these rocks. These are just stacked rocks. Nothing's helping them to stay except for gravity, and yes, they fall once in a while, wind or an animal, and I just pick them up. This just is visually appealing to me, rocks that I enjoy putting together. On the right I have 2 reptiles. Now all 3 of these last 3, most of the rocks came from Mammoth Mountain, where there was a lot of volcanic activity long ago. And these are great rocks. So the one on the right, I think, looks more like a crocodile. This one to me, on the left here, it looks more like an alligator. We're in our backyard now, and I've balanced the rock creations, which are lifeless, with the garden. And it's been great fun to play around with plants and design a garden. And here are the rocks. I have a little ocean scene here. Things I've gathered and painted, etc. We live about 3 or 4 blocks from the ocean, so it's only natural to find yourself thinking about the ocean when you decorate your house. Now, tell me what you see right here. Yes, these are sharks. Now, it's really hard to find a rock that looks like a shark. You need a convex and a concave on either side and a point on the top. And these rocks filled the bill. Now, if you follow over here to the right, what do you see? Yes, these sharks are chasing dolphins. What are the chances you're going to find rocks that look like dolphins? Now, tell me what you see here. Ocean theme, yes, I was going for a wave. So I collected rocks, and oh man, look at some of these beautiful rocks. They're so much fun to find things like this. Some of these are beautiful, so I made a wave out of this. And if you look closely over here, what do you see? I have a surfer. Surfboard came from the Yuba River. And the surfer's head This is how I found it in nature. You might say, oh, did you make these holes? Nope. I think if I drilled these, then you would be able to notice. This is just how the rock is. And so when you find a rock like that, you got to make something, and I made a surfer. Now over here, we have a wave also. That's what I was going for. I tried to put smooth rocks to get the idea of flowing on top. This kept falling and falling when I was making it. So I finally pounded a metal stake in here and made a rock tree. These are two rock trees actually. On top are some flat rocks balanced, and so are these balanced. But if I didn't have to make the whole thing balanced, then it stopped falling and it worked. I have some larger rock trees here, and you can see the stake is big and strong. Big stakes, big rocks, great fun. Now this is just a pile of rocks, basically. Rocks that I found beautiful, visually appealing. Like this one with all the layering, and I think this is a beautiful rock. This one with the quartz, beautiful. Now over here, I have what I call two-dimensional man, because his head and neck and body seem to be two-dimensional, length and width. But this guy is actually three-dimensional, and he has a heart. And you know that because you see the heart. He also shows he has a heart because he likes to throw a ball to his two dogs. Here are a bunch of ocean animals I've made out of rocks. To me, this one is a sea otter because it's got legs, not fins. This to me looks like a seal, and as you can see, I was able to find rocks that look like heads. Some of them even have holes for the eyes. Now here's a fish, a couple of fish here, fins, etc. And look at this fish head. Is this amazing? And it's just a plain old rock. Looks like a fish head. Over here, I found a great face made, it kind of looks like a turtle, baby turtle. Look at this face. Amazing, huh? I call this Ocean Man. He's riding on top of the turtle. This is my attempt to make a seahorse. Of course, it's a large seahorse. But I found this head and I had to make something and came up with a seahorse. Now, what do you see here? Yes, it's a duck. Look at that duck head. What are the chances? And I was able to make 5 different ducks. Here's the second one. This third one here, amazing. Look at this, the body and the wing. Just like they were made for each other. Here's a 4th and 5th duck. And then over here I have my migrating mammals, I call them. Now, and a lot of great heads with eyes, etc. These two, they're some sort of squirrel-like animal. Don't know what these are, but I found these 2 heads literally on the same day, 50 yards apart. To me, they look like egret heads. I really couldn't put together a good egret, so I made these. Now they look like egret heads, but they're made of rock, so I call them regrets. Here's a couple of mammals. Looks like maybe mother and son, perhaps. Look at this face, amazing. I have a stack of white rocks, just stacked. Got some shims here, beautiful rocks. And I have another stack of rocks here, just a variety of ocean rocks that I think Look beautiful. These are just black and white rocks. The contrast I think is visually appealing. Got some variety of kind of white and black rocks here. This one is just, the layering is amazing. Now, when you look at this, what do you see? What I was going for was a little people's village or a little people's habitat. If you look at these steps here, they lead into this habitat where they live. And then we have a park. I call it parallelogram park because of these two parallelograms. Now you see a couple of teeter-totters. This is a picnic bench. These are just decorative rocks at the park, a bench. These are the jacuzzis. Not really heated water, but if it rains, they fill with water and they can play in them. Over here is a climbing gym. Lots to climb on. Here they could walk up the bridge and go down the slide. I found a rock that looked like the continental United States. Amazing. I did go ahead and add Florida and Maine, but this is USA. I find rocks with lines on them, so I made this. Now these first two are rocks that have a circle on them. Then I made 4 more circles using the white lines. So I call this 6 circles. Very creative, huh? Now these rocks actually have circles on them. And I surrounded them with a circle, or an ellipse if you will. So I call it circled circles. Here are my ghost rocks. They're like coming out of the ground ominously. Just some great faces, huh? I want to show you this one. I just think it's an amazing face. Natural, made by nature. Now I have a stack of rocks over here. It was inspired by this one rock here. It's a big cube, flat on most sides, and I thought I could put a lot of weight on that, and so that's what I came up with. Notice over here there's some gnomes. I'm fascinated by gnomes because to me they use what the earth has, they don't pollute, and they promote healthy ecosystems. I found a rock that looks like a snake head, so I had to make a snake. And I actually made 2 snakes. Here's another snake head, and more of a gray and earthy snake. To me, this looks like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. And this is a young Jabba, still growing. Beautiful fossilized rock right here. Now, over here, I have rock spheres. I found a lot of them. It's amazing to me you can find a rock like this. I brought these to our last family reunion. We played bocce ball with them. I call it caveman bocce ball. I found this rock. It reminded me of my brother Dan. He's kind of a goofy, animated, active, funny guy. So I made a body with it and spelled out Dan. These are all stacked. So they're just held by gravity, and I call this cubes because I found a lot of rocks that are somewhat cube shaped. They balance well with each other, and I call this cubes. Here are some gnomes hiding in the middle of my garden. We have more gnomes in the back of my garden there, right near my compost pile. Here's an example of some of these orange flowers, tubular flowers. I've planted a number of bushes and plants that attract hummingbirds, and it's worked. This is a particularly pretty plant. These flowers are not only red but purple, both. It's pretty amazing. I have just one stack of rocks in my garden. It looks like the Matterhorn to me, and some pretty rocks. Got a couple of gnomes here. Actually, they were given to me by my friend Fran, who also encouraged me to make this video. I have rocks on the shelf here. Found a lot of green rocks and put them together. I just think they look good, and the rest of the rocks are more of a reddish theme, and some really beautiful deep red rocks. I surrounded my bonsai tree with these rocks. They're just decorative rocks that I think work well with this bonsai. I have a sauna, and I've tried to create a peaceful, tranquil atmosphere in front of it, starting with this rock sculpture, I call it. Looks like a sculpture to me. My wife named it the Greeter. Thank you, Maureen, for that and much more. These are river rocks, and they're just beautiful. Look at this one. Is this amazing? Maybe my favorite rock. These are all beautiful. I found some rocks shaped like hearts, so I made them in the shape of a heart. And if you look closely, every single rock is in the shape of a heart. And we are promoting love. Peace, love, groovy from Peter's Rock Creations. And thank you to my son Kyle, who filmed this and helped me lots on making the video.